Sports Professor Rick Horrow keeping score. Olympics, infrastructure, economics, legacy, development, validation, quality of life. Those are all words that we all talk about from time to time, and we have a special story today that impacts a whole lot of past history and future developments. Mike Knopp, his title is the Executive Director of the Oklahoma City Boathouse Foundation, but it's so much more than that. He's been involved in Oklahoma infrastructure development, the MAP's plan's next step, putting Oklahoma City on the map and keeping it there, but actually probably one of the finest Olympic training facilities you'll see anywhere. And Mike's got a great story. How are you?
Great.
Good. Glad to hear it. Glad we get a chance to talk about Oklahoma City. It's always had a special place in my heart. Over 25 years ago, there was a plan that we worked together with then Mayor Ron Norick on the MAPS, Metropolitan Area Project Strategies, which to people around the globe doesn't mean a whole lot, but to people who are close to the Midwest and Oklahoma City, it's a lifeblood for infrastructure and facilities, arenas, stadiums, performing arts centers, but it's always been a special city. Do people around Oklahoma City know how special it is?
Well, I think sometimes it's taken for granted. I mean, people in Oklahoma City, I think, are really starting to, I think, gain a probably a little bit more of a true sense of pride about where they come from, and I think part of that has to do with all the great recognition and the momentum that has been created through MAPS, which has led to things like the Thunder, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and, of course, all the things that we've done at the river and elsewhere in the community. So there is a real sense of momentum really felt throughout the community, and I think people are starting to really realize it.
Well, so early 90s, Mayor Ron Norick gets an idea that he wants to control his own destiny based on industry relocation decisions and overfly airport cargo areas that he didn't get for Oklahoma City, and developed his own homegrown economic development plan. But who'd have thought that Oklahoma City would evolve into one of the water training capitals of the world? Tell that story.
Well, yeah, I think, there was a plan to put low water dams on our river, which essentially back then was a ditch. The river was not anything more than a trickle of water that was really there for flood control purposes. It was a real river back in the early days of Oklahoma City, but it flooded. They had to channelize it and, in essence, took the water out of it. So there was an idea of putting water back in it. There just wasn't a lot of thought about what we were going to do with it. And I was a rower in college and could see when I looked at the river from the bridge and saw this totally straight section of water, or ditch at that time, that was 2,000 meters long and about 400 feet wide, and thought, gosh, if we had water here, this could be really something special for Oklahoma City, something that we could be truly world class in, and probably the least expected thing. And so it was just a process of educating the community and community stakeholders about this opportunity that we were sitting on to create a world-class urban water sports venue. And once we had the water through MAPS, it was then about activating that plan and getting people on the water and having events. And once that started happening, there was a lot of affirmation about, okay, this really is something that could be very special.
So in 1997, you talk about bringing Oklahoma City Olympic-level competition, and you were also obviously talking about the Oklahoma City Rowing Club. Did you have a childhood injury early in your life that rendered you senseless? I mean, how did that vision happen, and what were the reactions like?
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, people did think I was a little crazy or a little eccentric. This idea of doing this in Oklahoma City. People had such a low opinion of the river and rowing, and not only that, Oklahoma City had in Oklahoma in general, there's a lot of people that associate Oklahoma with the Dust Bowl or the Grapes of Wrath, or the fact that we have a lot of water here was something that wasn't widely known. And so I really saw this opportunity, but I was a swimmer in high school, and I grew up around the water in Minnesota, and I always was drawn to it. But I could see how having a vibrant downtown waterway that certainly at the core we could have these elite level events and programming, but really making it community centric, where this is a way to activate a waterway through community engagement. And so the whole approach was like, let's not, I know a lot of cities when they do riverfront development, they think about building restaurants or a river walk or hotels, all of which are great. Our initial focus was we just got to get people back to the river and on the water, which would then lead to people being on the trail, which would lead to people getting more active, which is something we also needed in Oklahoma City. And once that started happening, people started buying into it.
Well, and the synergies are there, obviously, and we did talk about maps and the idea of bringing some things to a city that are otherwise difficult or impossible. People, I'm sure it was easier to spread that vision after the initial success of maps, and in '97 you were kind of at the same spot as Katrina and the New Orleans Hornets and Oklahoma City, and then moving there for a couple of years, and then the Thunder. So it's almost parallel tracks, isn't it? You believe sports is economic development, you dream about it, and here it comes.
Yeah, I do think so. I think at the river, it is kind of like our own field of dreams here. We put stadium lights up on the river and this is something that has never been done before, but we thought, we can kind of do our own. We're the kind of place, there's a real pioneering spirit, I think, in Oklahoma City that also is part of the formula that makes this work. And the fact is we were new to these sports and we could think outside the box a little bit. So when we did so, I think it was, and it worked. We had people, teams from all over the world really coming to Oklahoma City through many different types of events. But you could also race under the lights here. And then our kids who start rowing or kayaking in Oklahoma City, they get to race under the lights. So it's kind of like Friday Night Lights, with football's so big here, we can do it on the water. And so it was finding all those different things that could resonate in the community and get people excited about a sport or a variety of different sports that people really, there was no culture for it. So we had to kind of quickly create a culture around the river.
Mike Knopp, Oklahoma waterfront guru, for lack of a better title. So the economics of the facility and the boathouse center, but also what kind of events that it generates. If you were at the head of the Charles in Boston, you'd be bringing in 250,000 people and all of the economics there. But whitewater, kayaking, all of the things that you do. Give us a snapshot of the economics and the benefits.
Sure. Well, we from day one when we first built our first boathouse, it came with the idea that we're going to have a signature event every year, and that became our Head of the Oklahoma. And we had teams from across America come, being in the center of the country, really at the crossroads of America. We could get teams from the East Coast and the West Coast meeting in Oklahoma City, and of course all the regional programs. So that in and of itself has an economic impact. We would joke that we became very accustomed in Oklahoma City to seeing horse trailers at the fairgrounds. Now we see rowing trailers at the river, and that's something that there's a lot of heads and beds that go along with that. But also we intentionally designed the Boathouse District master planned from the first boathouse all the way through the Whitewater Center to create economic opportunity from a variety of different directions. Like, for example, we've had more weddings than I would have ever expected, in the Boathouse District. We've had a lot of other types of events that aren't necessarily sports related that have happened there because of the way the venue is designed with the event facilities. And then one of the newer things have been adding these attractions to the mix, these adventure attractions. For us, it's all about getting people active, movement, whether it be rowing, kayaking, jumping, zipping, climbing, now paddling in Whitewater Rapids, creating a very authentic, unique the urban experiences has been something we've been focused on. And so now families are coming here and spending the weekend, and it's not a theme park, but in some ways there's parallels in the fact that you're spending the whole day buying a pass and having a lot of fun, burning a lot of calories, but it's bringing people to Oklahoma City. So it's everything from the daily attractions of the whitewater rafting and the zip lining to the big events. Like last weekend we had the national championship for USA Canoe Kayak. First time ever we were able to host the sprint side of the sport and the slalom side together in the same location. And so that occurred. Have had the Olympic trials earlier this year, and many more events planned in the future. So all of those things come together to create, I think, a pretty nice economic impact for the area.
Clearly, and we'll continue to get better. We are actually recording this in the middle of the Olympics, and we'll be running it on an ongoing basis, and people will be archiving it on Reuters and otherwise. The Olympics generally, and its emphasis on whitewater and kayaking and rowing and all of those sports, obviously helps generate interest for those sports. Particular interest in Oklahoma City and Oklahomans now watching the Olympics since they've got their own center?
Absolutely. I mean, people are very. I'm even surprised at how quickly, and really, our first major boathouse turned 10 years old this year, and so the fact that we've got so many people interested in following rowing, the newspaper keeps an update, on rowing and the kayaking that is going to be in the Olympics because of our connection. We've got men on the rowing side who train out of here who are racing in Rio. The whitewater slalom athletes qualified here at the Olympic trials. We've got Paralympians, and so all of those things, I think, I go back to the idea of real pride that has been continuing to develop in the community for the river and Oklahoma City in general. And I think that there is a lot of excitement surrounding the Olympics because of what's happening at the river.
Well, Mike Knopp, you certainly have had a fantastic run as a visionary and developing this. Just one final kind of question on this whole development opportunity. 10 years from now, look at your crystal ball. What is the boathouse district generally, and the set of facilities that you're involved in, what do they look like in Oklahoma City 10 years from now?
Well, we've only just opened the Whitewater Center River Sport Rapids last May, and we really see that as a game changer for the venue, and the fact that, again, at the Crossroads of America, we have a facility that is unlike any facility of its kind in the country, and really even in the world, because it's downtown. The fact that you're rafting down whitewater channels looking at a downtown skyline is really unique. So how we can take that and continue to expand on that, the fact that we're having people from all over the country now coming to Oklahoma City to experience River Sport Rapids, I think that's going to be unique in the fact that we become a national tourism destination, and that is, I think, a powerful thing for Oklahoma City, and to see what can we do in the Boathouse District to kind of continue to expand upon that. We have a lot of ideas about additional facilities that will complement that. We've just started work on a world-class bike park that will continue to evolve over the coming years. Additional boathouse facilities. There's also a $180 million American Indian Cultural Center that is under development that will also be complementary to the experiences people can have here in the Boathouse District in Oklahoma City. So I do think that this will become a major tourism engine for the region, but I also think, going back to the Olympics, that we're going to make an imprint on the Olympic movement in water sports, and we're only beginning to see that imprint now. We're going to have Oklahomans that are going to be on the podium in the future because of this kind of venue that is now in their backyard. And so that's something that we are excited to explore and really and continue to make this part of the culture, infusing this as part of the culture of Oklahoma City for the future.
Incredible vision and obviously incredible implementation. Can't wait to be there and see it. Mike Knopp, really, really appreciate it. Rick Horrow, keeping score beyond the scoreboard. Be back in just a couple of minutes.